who's your dream blunt rotation?
Of them.
I feel like if we're going to ask this question and we're going to answer it truthfully, none of us can say Snoop Dogg or Willie Nelson.
You got to go John Daly.
Damn it.
I feel like that would just be a blast.
Barack Obama. Let's fucking go.
Mine. What's up, everybody? Welcome back for the 38th episode of the Ride the Pine podcast. I am Sean Sproat. That is Cameron May and Kenny Hutton. Welcome back, boys. We took a little bit of a hiatus after the Super Bowl. How you doing?
It was definitely needed in my house.
Why's that?
I mean, just think of like what you guys go through while you watch a sporting event where your team's in it and it's high stakes. And my wife is the one going through it. Like, she was stressed the hell out. So I'm like, oh, this is how I look.
It was a big self-reflecting period in Kenny's house.
Cameron, your wife, the lifelong Chiefs fan, was she ecstatic about the win?
Yeah, she got back from a work trip that Friday, so she was on boys' duty while I went out and watched the game. So I'm not sure what she was doing. She left at half.
Well, we're gonna talk about the game in a second. Actually, let's go ahead and do that. We need to officially, we've been saying it for weeks, we need to officially finally crown the champion of our NFL Pick'em challenge. And that happened on Super Bowl Sunday, or on Big Game Sunday. Our champion, Kenny Hutton. Kenny, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Give the people what they want. Take a minute to gloat. Any thoughts on the Super Bowl? The floor is yours.
To steal a phrase from somebody who steals a phrase, you have to fight for your right to party. I was never an underdog. We're never an underdog. It's a dynasty, back to back. Because I did win last year too. So suck on that one, boys. There's my minute.
This is the year of Kenny because you won. Didn't you win fantasy this year as well?
No, that was last year.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So 2 years of Kenny then, I guess. So congratulations, man. This is the second year in a row that I have finished last in a Pick'em challenge as well.
This is
Not to mention March Madness last year. May we never forget that performance.
Oh, I won that too.
Cool.
God, the hot streak continues.
Which is starting up soon, by the way. We need to get our brackets in order and everything for that.
Absolutely.
You want to do a quick roundup for the Super Bowl? And we didn't really have an episode on it since we missed last week. Do you want to do some quick final thoughts about anything about the game? Did the Chiefs deserve it? Did the extra point screw over the 49ers? What are your thoughts?
So, I mean, again, I think people need to give the Chiefs defense really good, give them more credit. Chris Jones played incredible. That secondary played incredible. Nick Bolton did what, Nick Bolton things. But I'm sorry. Patrick Mahomes won that game. There's a reason why he won the MVP. We can talk about Shanahan's decision to take the ball in overtime all we want. But the failure of that organization to not understand the overtime rules is probably something that will be reflected on for years to come. So I do occasionally listen to New Heights with the Kelsey brothers, and obviously I wanted to get the inside of the game. And like the way they talk about the game is obviously high level. And Travis talking about the fact that like as soon as they called the ball, they're like, oh, this game is over. We have won.
Yeah.
Because now you've given Pat 4 downs. He knows what he's got to do. Like this isn't 3-down territory. It isn't like, do we kick? Do we go? There's no hemming and hawing. We know we got to go. So that makes the plays totally different. So hell of a play call. They won the Super Bowl. I think they beat the Eagles on or they threw that against the Eagles a couple times, and it crossed them up.
Yeah, same play. Corn dog or whatever they want to call it now.
Mm-hmm.
How fitting of Andy Reid to name something corn dog. Is there a cheeseburger play too?
I'm sure
If
there is.
anyone can, it's him. If anyone has the right to name it after foods,
No, I mean,
carnival foods, it's him.
in general, for the game, though, I mean, it's something you won't hear on this podcast very often, especially for me. I would like to commend the officiating crew for that game. They didn't make themselves the center of attention. They didn't make blatant wrong calls. I mean, I'm sure, there were holds missed here, there going both ways. For the most part, well-officiated game, stayed out of it, not like how it's been in the past for Chiefs games. So good on them.
If that was like a Week 10 game, then I would be screaming at you guys about how they missed so many holding penalties. But I think in the Super Bowl, you need to like keep the whistle in your hand. Don't call those. I like that. I think they did a good job.
You got to let men be men.
I mean, I'm about that anyway when it comes to any level of football, like or these kind of like professional levels, because at this point, college is just professional. Where they need to kind of let the guys play, right? There's some egregious things you can hit, but like I don't know how many times I would rewatch a Mizzou game and just be like, it really wasn't a hold. That's kind of ticky tack, or they did miss this one and it was egregious. Like, yeah, officiating across the board does need to get better in most things.
Yeah, and Sean, you mentioned that missed extra point was really a big shift in the game. I mean, there were long periods of this game where there wasn't a lot going on. First quarter,
I was going to say, you mean the first half?
Yeah. The entire first half.
Yeah, but I mean, it finally got going there towards the end in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and you felt like maybe San Francisco was finally going to be able to pull it off, and that kick seemed like it just completely deflated any chance they had. And I mean, that ball got 6.5 feet off the ground by the time it got to the line. I mean, that's just a shank. I know we still haven't filmed our extra point kicking. We will at some point once the weather warms up here in the Midwest. But I am confident I can get the ball in the air faster than that.
We all talked about it during our preview show about we thought it was going to be a close game, and we knew it was going to come down to a field goal or like a last-second touchdown. And I said, I don't believe in Brock Purdy until he shows me. I don't think he showed me enough for me to go out and say I need Brock Purdy to re-sign to the San Francisco 49ers. And he gave Mahomes too much time on the clock, and Mahomes did what Mahomes does. And yes, I know the argument and everything is like, oh, they didn't know the rules. The 49ers didn't understand that they needed to defer the kick. I get all of that. I totally understand. That's a valid point. But you can't go down in overtime and kick a field goal. You need to go for the end zone regardless. You have to, regardless if you have the ball first or you don't. Brock Purdy did not win the game. He did not lose the game. He was there. Patrick Mahomes won that game. And he did it the year before. He did it this year. And there's a potential with the three-peat for the first time ever where he's going to do it again next year. That dude has elevated himself to a whole other level that I don't think in the moment we really appreciate.
Yeah, and like Kenny said in the beginning, not to take away from the Chiefs' defense, I also don't necessarily think Brock Purdy is the next coming. I don't know if he is all he's hyped up to be. He doesn't have a ton of hype, but I don't know if he is that franchise quarterback that they're really looking for. But again, the Chiefs' defense played great. Shout out to True Son, Nick Bolton. What is that? He's top 10 in tackles and Super Bowls all time after only playing in 2 of them.
That's crazy.
It's his second year. I mean, he won it as a rookie. Obviously, wins it in his sophomore season, and he's already top 10 in tackles.
What a stat!
Yeah. And you got to figure he could potentially play in several more. I mean, I don't see anybody right now being able to dethrone the Chiefs. And they did something that nobody thought they could do. They went into Buffalo and won. Then they go into Baltimore and win. So they just proved they can win away from Arrowhead in the playoffs, because that was the knock on them this year. It's the first time they're playing away from Arrowhead, blah, 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 blah. I think, yeah, and to circle back to Cameron's point, we are witnessing the next level, like that next stage of quarterbacks. I think we need to be better about appreciating them in the moment.
Yes.
Because he is truly a special talent. I mean, yeah, I've thought about that here a lot recently. Like, I didn't appreciate what Tom Brady was, and probably will regret that for a while. Because sports are just, I mean, they're just fun. They're stupid games that we play. I mean, adults are getting paid to throw a fucking ball around. Like, come on. We should reflect on it. It is. It's a stupid children's game. So,
I mean,
yeah.
the only team I can think of off the top of my head that could potentially compete with the Chiefs, obviously they didn't do it this year, would be my Bengals if Burrow was healthy. They have beaten Mahomes at Arrowhead before. They've done it several times. They did it in the playoffs. I think if he's healthy, if they keep that wide receiver group together, they could potentially. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they're better than them. Obviously, it was proven that they're not. But that is a team that I'm still optimistic for being able to compete with the Chiefs.
Here's my only thing about the Bengals. I think they're going to move on from T. Higgins because T. Higgins actually tweeted something out this afternoon about like, oh, should I join the Chiefs? Because that kind of like the Chiefs have fixed the outcast receivers, right? And they have already said they're moving away from Joe Mixon. I don't know if that means they're going to cut him and try to renegotiate renegotiate a new contract, or they're just going to let him walk. I don't think, what's that kid's name behind him? Brown?
Yeah.
I want to say it's like Chase Brown, isn't it?
I don't remember his first name.
Not important. But you're talking about walking away. You're talking about walking away from a top 10 production running back. Excuse me. I don't know if you can go back there.
Don't be surprised if they throw a lot of money at Jacobs in the free agent market, though.
Would you want to?
No, I would not want to, but I'm just saying don't be surprised if they do.
Well that's fair.
Yeah. One quick note on the Chiefs and everything before we move on. I agree. I think we need to definitely, from a non-Chiefs fan, I think we need to appreciate them more and appreciate Patrick Mahomes more. And the fact that if they could franchise tag Jones and re-sign Snead, I think they could legitimately go for 3. I don't think there's anybody in the NFC, or excuse me, the AFC that is going to compete with them.
I mean, you also got to factor in, what if somebody like Kelsey negotiates a contract where he takes a lot less money to play?
Right.
And they could give it to somebody like Jones, who I believe they've actually said they will not franchise tag because it'll cost them $32 million.
Right. They're probably going to franchise tag Snead, but one of them is going to get franchise tagged unless they can work out a deal with both of them and like Kelsey or whomever takes less money, which could happen. Could totally happen.
I mean, he's dating a billionaire right now. Like, I might take less money if I was him, just, to play on a really good team.
For real. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move on because some other things happened in the sports world. The NBA All-Star Game took place the other day. This game was an indictment on All-Star games across the board. To put this in context, it was the highest scoring All-Star game of all time. The East scored 211 points. To the West's 186. In 73 years, that's the highest scoring. The previous mark was set in 2016 at 196 points. So they blew out that record. And they also set the most record for the most 3-point attempts in a single game as well, and 3-point makes. They were averaging 3-point attempts less than every 16 seconds. Guys,
I mean, it's
I don't know
a
if you
joke.
watched this. I tuned out basically at halftime whenever one of the teams already had like 95 points or something insane. I think it is time that we get rid of all-star games. I think this is the catalyst. I think it's pointless. The players clearly do not want to play in it. There's no incentive for them to play in it. They don't view it as a privilege. They don't play defense. Hell, the NFL is playing flag football in their all-star game. it is a pointless endeavor at this point. Of all the leagues, I would say maybe the NHL probably has it right, and even then I question it. Where do we go from here, boys? Where do we go from here? How do you fix the All-Star game?
I would disagree that they're all broken. I actually think the MLB All-Star game, the Home Run Derby, and that whole All-Star break is well done compared to all the other ones. Also, a shout-out to MLS, just really the skills competition part of it. The MLS skills competition is always entertaining. That crossbar challenge from midfield to end it is always exciting. They do fun and innovating games, I think. The NHL skills competition used to be something. It's just gone to shit, for lack of a better way to put it.
Take the skills competitions and the what the MLS does on take those out. I'm just talking about the actual All-Star games themselves.
I think MLS had it right 2 years ago where they did the Liga MX All-Stars versus the MLS All-Stars. I thought that was it was an exhibition. It was just for fun, but you could tell that there are two leagues that play against each other a lot in CONCACAF and Nations League. So there's still some animosity there. So it still seemed like a real game, at least coming in and watching that one. But all the other ones, the NBA one is the most. The East had 104 points at half. That is glaring. And they can't even. I know you said take the skills competition out of it, but they can't even do the dunk contest right. They have someone in the G League who won back-to-back years. How is that the best we can do?
Which is the 76ers' Matt McClung, who in the past 2 years has played four NBA games.
Actually, he plays for the Osceola Magic. Is his technical team?
Organization. Yes, that is correct. Technically, that is correct, which is the best type of correct.
Yeah. You could do something. You can't fix the NBA. You can't fix the Pro Bowl. The NHL has a fun concept. I don't think it's executed well, but
is that the answer? If you can't fix it, you just get rid of it. There's really no way to fix the NBA game.
I think you just go all in on the skill stuff and just make it a fun showcase. Put like the NHL this year gave $1 million if you won the skills competition. Do something like that for every league. Just take the All-Stars, have them all do some stupid drill, and call it a day. Get your social media clicks, get your interactions, get out.
I think I would much rather see kind of like what the NBA did this year earlier with the in-season tournament. Like, suspend play for 2 to 3 weeks and knock out this tournament, right? Or, the NHL gets an easy one because every 4 years they're going to be in the Olympics, right? So they don't do the All-Star game, which is actually kind of beneficial to them because then they can kind of rebrand it and go, what didn't work, what works. Because I don't really think the All-Star game works anymore for the NHL either. I don't think All-Star games work anyway because the players don't seem to be as invested as they used to be. Maybe baseball does work, but I've become so disillusioned by the MLB that it's hard to even get excited about the All-Star game. Right? The Cardinals were out of it last year by July, and it wasn't even worth turning it on. Maybe this year will be different. It'll be nice to maybe see that. Pro Bowl is a joke. The NBA is a joke. I'm just going to repeat kind of the same stuff that Cameron said. I would just do away with them. The players don't want them. They want that recognition. They want to say they're all-stars, but then they don't want to go and perform. Like Nikita Kucherov was going to get suspended because dude clearly did not want to be there, but had to show up so he doesn't get suspended.
Yeah.
So I would rather see – so the NHL did it a couple years ago. They did North America versus the world, but up-and-coming kids. So you'd get somebody like a Snuggerud or who's the other kid in our Dvorsky, somebody like them playing on an all-star team of like the future all-stars. So I think something like that would be cooler. I don't know how you do that in the other leagues. It would probably be a little hard.
Baseball. They do it in baseball with the futures game. You can't really do that in basketball unless you enter into cooperation with the NCAA.
Yeah, I think that one would be a little bit more difficult. I think football and basketball would have the disadvantage because obviously for those athletes to turn pro, they have to go to college. And you already have a lot of those kids. Those kids are coming, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I completely forgot the NBA All-Star Game was on until I went to turn on wrestling, and they're like, we're skipping a week because of the NBA All-Star Game. I went, oh, okay.
Is that really something we need to skip a league for? do we need to treat the NBA All-Star Game like the Super Bowl and try and not conflict with it? I don't think that was necessary by wrestling.
Well, no, it's on the same channel. So TBS or whoever, TNT, whoever showed it, was like, we're going to do the All-Star Game because it's more important to us. It gets more eyes. I get it. I understand. But for me, there's more compelling things to worry about on a Saturday night than the All-Star Game.
The only thing I still really enjoy about All-Star Games is that it highlights a city and like a team and a building that I really wouldn't see otherwise, for the most part. Like this NBA All-Star Game was in Indianapolis. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched an Indiana Pacers game. That was pretty cool to see that city highlighted and to see them kind of at the forefront instead of just watching like the Knicks and the 76ers and the Lakers and the Celtics on TV every other day. That part of it was cool.
You make a great point. And the pride I felt when the MLB All-Star Game was at New Busch, when was that, 09?
06 it opened, right?
Yeah. So I think it was 09.
So yeah.
And then right. Like the NHL coming in 2021 or 2020?
It wasn't 2020. That was COVID. It was 21 because I was there for the skills.
Yes, I understand that for like the city, right? That's a great economical boost. So, and there's some pride in that, right? This is my town. This is my team showing off what we do with the All-Star Game. So, yeah, I get that.
But I do actually really like your idea of doing like an in-season tournament for like a 2-week period. MLS is already doing it with Leagues Cup, but they have their All-Star Game as well, so they're kind of getting their cake and eating it too. NBA is kind of doing the same. That would be pretty cool, actually, to see the NHL take a 2-week break. Say, okay, we're going to do an in-season tournament, groups of 3, let's get at it. Something simple like that. And you could still you could still do it in one city.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
I think that works in most leagues, not the NBA, though, just because they already have an issue with players sitting out for no apparent reason. So I don't really know if that would be a net positive for them to have more games where the stars are trying to rest.
At least that's one thing that the NBA has, though, is that players do actually show up for the All-Star Game. And that saying playing it is probably not the right terminology because they're not playing defense. They're not playing anything that resembles basketball. But they do show up for it. MLB guys kind of drop and take the opportunity to have days off. It's just every sport has their little minute problem.
Who was the guy? I think I want to say it was either a Winnipeg Jet or a Kraken. I want to say it was somebody on the Jets. And there was a video of him getting called into the coach's office, and it was like, "Hey man, guess what? You're going to the All-Star Game now. So and so backed out." And the look on the guy's face was like, "I gotta cancel my vacation.
My wife's gonna be pissed." That's how they view it. These guys are playing 82 games. It's a grind, and baseball's 162. It's a grind. All they want to do is have a day off, go see their kids, go see that second family they have in that faraway city. That's all they want to do. All right. Not enough talk about All-Star games. It's depressing. Because all I remember is like yesteryears and how great it used to be, at least from a kid's perspective. And It's not the same anymore, man. Kenny, you had a question for us. Oh, really? Adam had a question for us.
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull this up real quick. So talks amongst yourselves.
Yeah, well, while we're here, you could follow us on Twitter at PodRideThePine, on Instagram at pod_RideThePine, on TikTok at RTP-Kenny, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Ride the Pine Podcast is our name. Like, listen, subscribe, leave a comment. Participate in our polls that go up on our Spotify episodes. I know our social media intern worked hard on those.
Yep.
All right. So completely stealing this from Adam. We'll have to get his answers next week since he's not here. But our local radio show was talking about this. They were talking about where the losing T-shirts for the Super Bowl teams go. And they were talking about how they like go to places like you would never expect. Like they wind up in like Romania where they never watch the NFL, right? And so one of the co-hosts was like, my mom had an 85 Cardinals World Series shirt. So this is the question. What is the one non-championship shirt you would want and wear it proudly? I have two.
I have two as well.
But I think, Sean, we should go to Cameron first.
Okay.
So just to be clear, this is a team that didn't win their championship, right? And you would have
This
that shirt?
This is the 49ers Super Bowl champions for 2024, or however it's worded, shirts, right?
Yep.
That they get sent to impoverished nations and donate it. So, yes.
All right.
You always see some really skinny kid in Kenya wearing a large Super Bowl shirt of the team that lost.
Yeah, of course. So mine, I think, is kind of easy, and it's really just a dig. Might be cheating a little bit. I want a 2003 National League Championship Series Cub shirt, the Sam Bartman series.
Oh, savagery. I didn't even think about that.
That is the shirt that I want,
Beautiful.
and I want to wear that proudly.
Well deserved. Well done.
Speaking of, I don't think I can top that anymore. Speaking of Cubs, I used to wear the shirt that said Cubs completely useless by September. And I had somebody stop me and were like, oh, you're a Cubs fan? I'm like, you should read this shirt again.
Kenny, do you want to alternate? Do you want to give me one and then I'll give you one?
Sure.
Go for it.
All right. So the best baseball team I've ever seen did not win the World Series. They were swept in 4 games. They broke the curse.
Mm-hmm.
I would want a 2004 St. Louis Cardinals World Series championship shirt. They're the greatest baseball team I've ever seen.
Yeah, that World Series hurt a lot.
Yeah. That's a really good one. Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
I didn't do any local ones. So the first one, technically you could pick one of 4 years, but it would be better if it was the last year of 1994, the Buffalo Bills.
Is that the Scott Norwood?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
That one would be incredible. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost. That would be the one. That would be one of the ones for me.
I probably should have done something funny because now I'm just thinking about like all of the pain this has brought me. Like I could go 2015 Blues Western Conference Championship shirt, or what I'm really going to do. And I did not think I would ever recover from this game. 2007 Big 12 Championship, when Oklahoma just gut punched us and ruined the perfect season. If they made Mizzou Big 12 championship shirts for 2007, I would want one.
If I were
You're not going to get the SEC championship shirt?
No, God, no. Oh, Jesus.
If I were a betting man, I would have put all of my money on that answer for Kenny.
The big
right now. All right, my last one is I'll preface this with a question. What is like pop culture's greatest championship game, championship series? I think, in my opinion, it is the 1996 Chicago Bulls. So give me a 1996 Seattle Supersonics NBA Finals championship.
Yeah.
Kenny looks perplexed.
I mean,
You think that was the greatest?
I think it's in context. Looking back, I think it is one of the greatest. Yes.
I mean, it's a homer answer, but the Cardinals, David Freese. I mean, that ripping the hearts out of Texas was always a good feeling. No offense, Sean.
Even if you're not a basketball fan, you know that the Chicago Bulls won in 1996 and how dominant Michael Jordan was. So that's my argument for that statement. Go Supersonics.
Okay.
Gone too soon. Bring them back.
Give me a 2023 NBA All-Star Game West championship.
Really? I didn't even mention this whenever we were having our discussion. Let me find it real quick because I needed to point this out. The West lost that game, right? Do you guys know who the MVP was of that game? Of this last NBA All-Star game? Any guesses?
LeBron James.
Jokic?
It was not. It was Damian Lillard, who now plays for the Bucks. So the East won. He scored 39 points, and he won the championship. On the West, though, Karl Anthony Towns scored 50 points in just 28 minutes, and he did not get the MVP because his team lost the damn All-Star game.
I mean,
50 points in 28 minutes.
I know some of those words.
I mean, that's just throwing up shots everywhere. That is every drunk college kid at 2 a.m. on Tinder just swiping right as fast as they can. How fast he was getting shots up.
Even in an All-Star game, the best player for the Minnesota Timberwolves can't get any love. The Minnesota is just cursed when it comes to any sports. You got no love for scoring 50 points in 28 minutes.
I'm very confused, though. It wasn't Damian Lillard a Trailblazer?
He was traded.
When?
Clearly have not been watching a lot of basketball, and that's okay, but he was traded in this past offseason. So he's a Buck now.
Okay.
Okay. Final thoughts, guys, before we head out, before Cameron hits the socials one more time.
Hey, WWE, I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. to watch a pay-per-view in Australia. There you go.
We're 48 days away from the Masters. Everyone prepare accordingly.
Oh, my God. We got to do the fucking meal thing again because Adam doesn't get to pick something he's never eaten in his fucking life. I'm gonna pick elk. Dude, come on. Get out of here.
Look, maybe I won't go STL heavy on this one, but I still thought that was a banger of a menu. For anyone who wants to go back and listen to that, what was that, episode like 10, maybe?
It was early. It was an early episode.
I mean, I remember us talking about the Super Bowl. I think we got started during the NFL playoffs last year, so it's probably close.
Our first ever episode was December 2022, so maybe that was like our fourth or fifth episode.
I will also point out, I'm pretty sure Sean was just doing this to appease us, and then his other podcast fell off, so now he's stuck with us.
That may or may not be true.
R.I.P. put me in, coach.
Speaking of our podcast, Cameron.
Yeah, if you want to go back and find our Masters menus from last year, you can find it on Twitter X at PodRideThePine, on Instagram at pod_RideThePine. TikTok, we are at RTP-Kenny. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Ride the Pine podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, leave a review, participate in our polls. And keep an eye out for March Madness announcements for a bracket.
Do what to your polls?
All right. Let's get out of here, guys. Everybody have a good night. A shout out to STL City for beating Houston in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Let's take home the trophy, boys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Hopefully none of those losers sang Hey Jude like they do at Sporting.